This minor character that I'm going to talk about is so minor that, well, we don't even really know his name, hence the anonymous part of the title. He is only present in one novel, the Lord of the Clans novel, and he's actually only active, important in the story in 13 paragraphs in the whole book. I legitimately could just read and play act those fragments for you, and it would paint a fairly complete picture of the character. Still, despite the fact that he is a really minor character, his very short participation in the story really touched me, and I first read this back in the time when I was a crappy teenager, and the story still really made me feel really emotional when reading it, and to an extent it still does. As most of you probably know, Lord of the Clans, written by Christie Golden, details the story of a young Fro, how he was raised and kept in captivity by Aedelas Blackmore, the administrator for all of the Alliance Orc internment camps, and later how he escaped, rediscovered his people, and became the war chief of the Horde. Fro was raised from a very young age to be a gladiator for Blackmore, though he also planned to use him to lead an army of the captive orcs to take over Lordaeron. Now, the character I'm going to talk about has a very small presence in the novel, but he does have a notable, albeit indirect, impact. To set the scene, one of the typical training exercises young Fro undertook was that he would fight alone against a group of human trainees. This was also done to train those trainees, not just Fro. The event I'm going to talk about took place when Fro was 12 years old. After the Second War was won by the Alliance, the orcs were being rounded up into internment camps while also growing more and more lethargic and docile from being cut off from fel magic. One day, during one of those training exercises, someone made a misstep and brought in a cart of orc prisoners while Fro was also outside to see them. This was the first time ever he'd seen another orc, well, as far as he could remember, and the sight obviously petrified him. One of the orcs in the cart saw Fro, surrounded by 12 humans as he was. He screamed and hurled himself at the cart's cage bars and managed to bend them enough to escape. Though he hit the ground hard, he quickly ran towards Fro and shouted something in Orcish. The other humans attacked the orc, who for the time kept them at bay, while Fro was too shocked to say anything. The orc once again shouted something in Orcish, which roused Fro, yet he did not know what to do. He assumed that the other orc was going to attack him, yet he did not want to fight one of his own people. Before he could do anything, the human soldiers overwhelmed the orc and cut him down, and then took Fro back to his cell. The incident forced Blackmore to reevaluate the way he saw and trained Fro. After conversing with Fro's instructor, Blackmore relegated him to fighting in gladiatorial matches instead of training with the other human recruits. Eventually, after Fro lost for the first time and Blackmore had him beaten as a result, he was motivated enough to escape. Eventually, Fro reached the remainder of the Warsong clan and met their chieftain, Grom Hellscream. During one of their conversations, Fro told the chieftain about the orc. He had also remembered the words the orc had screamed and asked Hellscream what they meant. The chieftain told him that the words are, "Run, I will protect you." Fro realized that the orc did not mean to attack him after all. Instead, that he saw a young orc beset by 12 humans and gave his life in an attempt to protect him. This is it. As I said, all of this is told in just 13 paragraphs in the entire book. This is perhaps the most remarkable thing about the character, that his story felt so touching to me, even though it occupies so little space in the novel and in the lore as a whole. So this was the story of, as I termed him, the Anonymous Orc. Leave any thoughts in the comments below, and I will see you all later. Farewell.